The history of Alabama A&M University. Alabama Agricultural and Mechanical University has one of the most interesting and rich histories of any university in the South. It has went through several name changes, a campus move, and over 150 years of time. Today it has a successful athletic program, several nationally recognized programs, students from 11 countries, and over 37,000 alumni. In 1873, the Alabama state legislature passed legislation and created the legal groundwork to establish the state normal schools. This act was part of Peyton Finley's efforts inside the Alabama Board of Education to create 4 universities, 2 for whites and 2 for blacks. 2 years later, a former slave named William Harper Council founded the school under a new name, Huntsville Normal School. The original iteration of the school was located in downtown Huntsville, Alabama. The site was purchased from the Conley family, a prominent family that is heavily involved in the university to this day. The original site is now occupied by Huntsville landmark, the Von Braun Center. In 1878, with help from the new state appropriations bill, the curriculum expanded beyond normal education. A new collaboration with local mills developed, first offering classes in industrial education. A few years later, they started to offer industrial training classes to the public. This led to a name change, and thus State Normal and Industrial School at Huntsville became the official title in 1885. Just 5 years later, in the year 1890, the school moved to its current location in the new city, Normal, Alabama. In its first semester at the current site, the school boasted a student body numbering 300 being taught by 11 teachers. These achievements were enabled by the Morrill Act of 1890, which provided funds to purchase the current 2,300-acre site. This act of Congress also designated AAMU as a land-grant college. In 1896, the school underwent its 4th name change to become known as the State Agricultural and Mechanical College for Negroes. Council also won AAMU a grant from the Carnegie Foundation to construct the first campus library in 1904 for a cost of $12,000. In 1909, the founder, William Harper Council, stepped down as president of AAMU, a position he held for 19 years. President Council's hand-picked successor, Walter S. Buchanan, was able to continue the traditions of his predecessor. His 12-year term, from 1909 to 1921, was free of much change. However, he was able to oversee AAMU's 5th name change to become known as the State Agricultural and Mechanical Institute for Negroes in 1919. The following 6 years after President Buchanan left office were another very stable and very uneventful period. The presidency of Thelonious Parker, the Alabama state government gained power over university administrators through a series of spending packages. By the end of President Parker's term, the university was becoming dangerously close to becoming a state technical school with an ever-changing mission. In 1927, the university board of directors became the victim of a coup. With help from the federal government, the African American public, descendants of William Council, and prominent black business leaders nationwide, World War II veteran and education advocate Dr. Joseph Fanning Drake successfully installed a board that appointed him president of AAMU. President Drake spent the early part of his term reclaiming control from the State House, where the fate of AAMU was being used as a political football. He also worked to increase enrollment, with much success. In 1939, under his leadership, the school moved up in funding status and was granted authority over senior college-level courses. His administration also attracted a diverse student body that included world-class scientists, champion athletes, and eccentric jazz musicians. He was able to organize the foundation and state funds to erect several buildings still in use today. The built environment he created on campus is not only beautiful to look at, but also has a deep connection to the community around it. This explosion of campus infrastructure earned President Drake the nickname The Builder. Joseph Drake's personal history and the history of Alabama A&M University are forever linked. In his 35-year term, he oversaw yet another school name change, Alabama Mechanical College, 1948. He led AAMU to great achievements in academics, athletics, education, and the arts. His hand-picked successor and board members dominated the university administration well into the early 1980s. His name, vision, and will are forever ingrained in AAMU's DNA. In 1962, due to health reasons, President Drake stepped down and relinquished his power to a longtime member of his administration, Richard Morrison. Soon after taking the reins, the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools granted AAMU full accreditation to take effect the fall semester of 1963. This new credential led to the most recent name change in school history. In 1969, just before the start of the fall semester, the school became known as Alabama Agricultural and Mechanical University. President Morrison was not able to build or gain influence at the rate of his predecessor. However, he did guide AAMU through the civil rights struggle, the assassination of JFK, and the Vietnam War, all of which created unique and challenging times for all HBCUs. Richard Morrison's 22-year stint as president was instrumental to solidify Joseph Drake's vision of a high-quality HBCU in North Alabama. During this period, AAMU developed a dynamic and generous alumni base and increased the influence globally through aggressive recruitment programs. By 1984, President Morrison had become an old man. He lost credibility nationally, slowly lost control of the board, and began to ponder his last years on Earth. That spring, he announced he would step down and let the board pick his successor. The 12 years following President Morrison became a rocky transition period. After 57 years of strong leadership, the AAMU had a hard time figuring out how to proceed. In 1984, Douglas Covington began a short 3-year stint as president. President Covington was unable to expand AAM's influence or add to its campus infrastructure. In 1987, heading into the fall, he was replaced by Interim President Carl Marbury. Due to his success in increasing enrollment and securing state funds in 1989, the Board of Trustees removed the word interim from his title. However, he left the university for promotion in December of 1990. What would follow was a period of instability and controversy. In the years January 1991 to summer 1996, alumni was led by 3 different presidents. Dr. Allen Keyes held the position in an interim status for 16 months. Then Dr. David Henson held the position for 2.5 years. His administration oversaw the first ever induction into the AAMU Athletic Hall of Fame and the construction of the Mamie LeBon Foster Living and Learning Complex in 1994. However, his administration was mired in a series of financial scandals which led to a brief stint as university president. In 1995, Dr. Henson was replaced by interim President Dr. Virginia Caples, the first ever woman to hold the office. She was charged with the task of leading and searching for a strong leader. By spring 1996, interim President Caples and the board had found their president. Dr. John Thomas Gibson was appointed in July of 1996. He would go on to lead the university into the 21st century. Soon after taking office, he began the rollout of his 8-state plan to modernize the university. This plan successfully manifested into the opening of Louis Crew Stadium, a visit from Spike Lee, the creation of the Nobel Laureate Series, starting the AAMU Research Institute, national accreditation of the AAMU Pharmacy Department, and a new engineering building, and the list goes on. Sadly, this explosion of economic activity on campus created a lot of temptation. Ultimately, his administration stole $1.2 million from the American people. President Gibson was ousted in 2005 in a fire of scandal. The following months saw Dr. Caples return to her interim role. Soon after, 2 new presidents were appointed in 2006 and 2008 and again were reduced to monetary scandal. Dr. Andrew Hugh Gene was appointed president in 2009. He was selected for his ethics record and his vision. He was able to finally complete and open the AAMU Student Health and Wellness Center in 2010. As current president, Dr. Hugh Gene's legacy and the historical impact it will have on AAMU are undetermined. Alabama Agricultural and Mechanical University is the most historically significant university in North Alabama. Its impact on the African American community nationally is undisputed. AAMU has unique engineering and forestry departments that have international student bodies and a global impact. AAMU has had and will continue to have a role in the American story.